Hello everyone. Welcome back to the AWS Solution Architect Associate Certification Bootcamp. In this session, we'll demo EC2 Auto Scaling. This is a must known topic for AWS cloud engineers or solution architects. This will be a lab session. If you want to perform the hands-on with us, please log into your AWS Management Console. We'll start the demo with creating a launch target. Then using the launch target, we'll create an auto scaling group. To demo end-to-end and access the web application, we'll create an application load balancer, then a HTTP target group to pass the traffic to the backend instances. We'll also modify the default health check configuration on the target group. Then we'll simulate an outage scenario to demo the auto scaling feature. Before concluding the video, we are going to clean up all the resources we will create in this demo to avoid any unexpected charges. Please log into the AWS Management Console and join the exciting lab session. I have logged into AWS Management Console and I'll go to EC2. From the left hand side, under Auto Scaling, we are going to select Auto Scaling Group. And now let's create Auto Scaling Group. To create an auto scaling group, you need a launch target. That is why we will start with a launch template. Here is the hyperlink. You can click create a launch template. First, we need to provide a launch template name, and we are going to provide the name as Cloud Expert Solutions Demo Launch Template. You can use whatever the name you want. Then we need a version description. I am going to use the template version description as demo launch template. You can use whatever the version description you want. For auto scaling guidance, I'll go with the default option. Template tags and source template. I do not have a pre-built template. However, we are going to create one from scratch. That is why I am not going to select any source template. Template tag is optional. I am going to skip the tagging. And now we have to select the OS and the AMI. Here are two options. Either you can go with the recent, whatever the AMI you have used recently, or you can go with the quick start. Let's click recently launched. Then all the AMIs you have used recently will be popped up. Recently I have used Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. That is why that is selected. However, if you want something else like Windows and all, you can type here and you can select the proper AMI from the drop down. I am going to proceed with Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. In terms of instance type, it is saying don't include in launch template. However, for this demo, I am going to select T2 Micro. The purpose of not selecting an instance type is if there is not enough capacity of this particular instance type, then your launch template will not launch any new EC2 instance. However, if you keep that instance type open, and if there is no capacity for this particular instance, then the launch template will launch the closest one. For this demo, I want to be in the free tier. That is why I will select T2 Micro. Keep here I don't need because I don't want to log in into these EC2 instances. Network settings, I am not going to select any network settings now. However, I am going to select an existing security group because inbound and outbound rules are vital. That is why I am going to select the security group from our previous demo. And the security group name is CS Demo Security Group. In terms of advanced configuration, storage, I'll go with the default storage 8GB EBS SSD GP3. Resource tag, I don't need. Now let's go to advanced details. IAM instance profile, I'm not going to select anything. Then DNS host name, I'm not going to select anything. Termination protection, I don't want to add any termination protection because this is not a production workload. However, for a production workload, you should enable termination protection. Stop protection also same, I don't want to include here. If you enable stop protection, then you won't be able to stop these EC2 instances. In terms of placement group, I don't have a placement group. That is why I'm not going to include anything. Purchase option, you can select either capacity blocks or you can select spot instances. If you have a production workload, then you should not select spot. However, if you have any seasonal workload, there you can use the spot. Then we have tenancy. we have different tenancies like shared, dedicated host. We are not going to select anything. We are going to keep all other options default. However, we want to add some script in the user data because we want to install HTTPD and we want to create and host one web application in this EC2 instances. That is why I will copy the same user data, whatever we have used in our previous demo. And let me repeat, we are going to first install HTTPD, then we are going to start HTTPD, and then we are going to enable HTTPD server, and we are going to create one simple HTML page under var www HTML, and the file name will be index.html. Inside that HTML page, we are going to type hello from Cloud Expert Solutions, and then we are going to type the private IP address of that EC2 instance. We have all the details, whatever we need. Now let's create the launch template. Here you go. We have successfully created the launch template, and this is the template ID. We don't have to remember this template ID. Now next, we are going to create the auto scaling group. To create auto scaling group, from the left hand side, I'll again go to auto scaling. Under auto scaling, we have auto scaling group. Let's click auto scaling group. We'll create auto scaling group. We are going to use the name as Cloud Expert Solutions Demo Auto Scaling Group. You can provide whatever the name you want. Next, we have to select the launch template. Now let's select the launch template that we have created just now. From the drop down, I am going to select Cloud Expert Solutions Demo Launch Template. It has all the details in terms of AMI. We haven't selected any key pair. Then we have the template name. We have the security group ID. We have the instance type, and we are not using any spot instance. Now let's click next. Next, we have to choose instance launch options, and under launch options, we have to select the networks. First, I am going to go with the default VPC in terms of availability zones and subnets. Let's select USTist 1A, 1B, 1C and 1D. We are not going to select all the 7 availability zones. For this demo, I am selecting only 4 availability zones. However, if you are doing for a production workload, you should select as many availability zones available to you. In terms of availability zone distributions, we have two options, either balanced best effort or balance only. If you have selected balance based effort, then the auto scaling group will try to launch the instances into availability zones and it will try to balance the workload. However, if any availability zone is not responding or if any availability zone has outage, then it is going to launch an instance to the closest availability zone. However, if you select balance only, in that case, it will keep on trying to launch that instance on that availability zone, even if the availability zone is unhealthy. For this demo, we are going to proceed with balanced based effort. Let's click next. Then load balancing. We do not have a load balancer. That is why let's proceed with no load balancer. We are going to create a load balancer and then we are going to update this auto scaling group and we are going to attach one load balancer. In terms of health check, we are going to use the default health check. Later we are going to edit that health check. And another one thing, application recovery controller. During an availability zone impairment, target instance launch towards other availability zones or other healthy availability zones. If you are going to enable zonal shift, then if one of the availability zone is not working or if there is an outage, then it is going to launch to an healthy availability zone. However, for this demo, we have already selected 4 availability zones. We don't have to enable zonal shift because this is a demo. It's not a production workload. Let's click next. Next, we have group size. The desired capacity, let me go with 1. Minimum is 1 and let me put maximum as 2. Such that we will be able to demo the auto scaling features. Now for this demo, I am going to keep minimum as desired. However, for your workload, please choose based on your requirement. Then in terms of automatic scaling, the default option is no scaling policy. However, I am going to select target tracking. And in the target tracking, I am going to keep the target CPU utilization as 30%. That means if the targeted CPU utilization will go above 30%, then it is going to create a new instance, or it is going to launch a new instance. An instance warm-up time is by default 300 seconds. However, you can change that. You can make it to 500 or whatever the warm-up you want. I'll go with the default option. And then instance maintenance policy, I'll go with the no policy. Additional capacity settings, you can use either if you have a capacity reservation, then you can use capacity reservation only. You can also go with capacity reservation first. That means if you have capacity reservation, it is going to absorb from there. And once it is going to cross your reserve capacity, then it is going to take from on demand and all. If you select no, then instance will not be launched using capacity reservation. And by default, auto scaling will use capacity reservation preference from your launch template. I'll go with default. In terms of additional setting, instance scaling protection, you can enable the instance scaling protection, and if you protect it from scaling event, the newly launched instance will be protected from scaling by default. I don't want to enable that. And now let's click next. You can add notification whenever there is an instance launch or whenever there is an instance termination. You can get a notification. This is must have for any production workload, and it is going to send a notification via SNS topic. We haven't covered SNS yet. That is why you are going to skip that. Next is tag. Tagging is optional. We are not going to add any tag. I am going to click next. And the final step is review. Here you have all the details, whatever we have selected. We have selected the default VPC. We have selected 4 availability zones from UST1A to UST1D. In terms of availability zone distribution, we have used balanced best effort and all other details. Now let me click Create Auto Scaling Group. To create an auto scaling group, it is going to take more than a minute. Sometimes it is going to take 2 to 3 minutes. I am going to pause the video here and I will come back once the auto scaling group will be created successfully. The auto scaling group has been created successfully. It took around 45 seconds for me. Now let's go back and let's create one application load balancer first. I'll go back to EC2 dashboard. From left hand side under load balancing, here I have target groups. Here I have load balancer. Let's create the target group first. Before creating the load balancer, let's go to EC2 dashboard. Here you can see I have one EC2 instance is coming now. It is saying initializing, and this EC2 instance is getting created by your auto scaling group, because here you have, if you click that auto scaling group, you have desired capacity is 1 and minimum capacity 1 and maximum 2. Since you have desired capacity 1, that is why the EC2 instance is coming. Let's wait for some time for the EC2 instance to be created successfully and pass all the status checks. Then we are going to access the web application and then we are going to create the load balancer. Okay, both the status checks are passed now. Let's select the EC2 instance and let's take the public IP address and let's try to access the web application. I am going to type http:// then the public IP and index.html. I can access the web application and it is showing IP address as 172.31.40.119. Let's review this IP address with the EC2 instance. 172.31.40.119. So our backend targets are ready. Now let's create the load balancer and let's pass the load to these backend targets. To create a load balancer, from the left hand side under load balancing, here you have load balancers and target group. We'll start with the target group first. I'll create target group. As basic configuration, I'll choose the target type as EC2 instances. For target group name, I am going to use Cloud Expert Solutions Demo TGT. You can use whatever the target group name you want. In terms of protocol, I am going to select HTTP because I am going to create one application load balancer. I am fine with default port 80. IP address is IPv4. I don't have IPv6 and I don't want to enable. In terms of protocol, I'm fine with HTTP 1. Health check, I'll go with the default health check for the time being, and then I'll click next. Here I have available instances. I'm not going to register any target, and I'm going to create that blank target group without registering any target. Now this is a new pop-up. Now AWS started collecting feedback as well. I'm going to close this feedback pop-up. Seems like my target group has been created successfully. I'll check the target group status from the target group options. Here you go. This is the target group name that has been created. Now let's create the load balancer. To create a load balancer, I am going to click this create load balancer. You have already seen this screen. I am going to create an application load balancer. The first step is we have to provide a name, and I am going to use Cloud Expert Solutions Demo ALB. You can choose whatever the ALB name you want. I am going to create an internet facing application load balancer, not an internal one. In terms of load balancer IP address, I am fine with IPv4. I don't need a dual stack. In terms of network mapping, I'll go with the default VPC. And in terms of availability zone, please make sure you are selecting the same availability zones as your auto scaling group. If you remember, we have selected availability zone from USTist 1A, USTist 1B, USTist 1C and USTist 1D. That is why I am going to select the same 4 availability zones. From USTist 1A to USTist 1D. In terms of security group, I am going to remove the default security group, and I am going to attach the security group whatever we have created in our previous demo, and we have used the name as SAA-C03 demo security group. We are going to select that security group. In terms of listeners and routing, we do not have a TLS certificate. That is why you are going to use the protocol as HTTP port 80, and let's select the target group whatever we have created sometimes back. And this is my target group. I'll select the target group. I do not want to add any load balancer tags, and let's create the load balancer. Let me close this pop-up. I'll go to load balancer dashboard. Currently the load balancer is in provisioning status. Let's give couple of minutes for the load balancer to be created successfully. The application load balancer has been created successfully. You can see the status as active. It took close to 3 minutes for me for the application load balancer to be provisioned successfully. Now we have one last thing. We need to modify our auto scaling group, and we need to attach this load balancer with auto scaling group. If you remember, we have created this load balancer with a target group, and the target group does not have any backend targets. Here you can see this is my load balancer. Here I have the listeners and the rule, and this is my target group. In the target group, I do not have any backend targets. I'll go to auto scaling group. I'll select the auto scaling group, and from action, I'm going to edit. I'll scroll down, and here is the load balancing option. I'll select application, network or gateway load balancer, this checkbox, because I haven't created a classic load balancer. And from here, I am going to select the target group. This is the application load balancer target group. I have selected the application load balancer target group, and I am going to click update. I'll close this pop-up. Currently I have desired capacity 1, minimum is also 1 and maximum is 2. Everything looks good for me. I can show you the EC2 instance. Let's review that. I'll go to EC2 dashboard, instance. Yes, it is running. Now let's copy the application load balancer URL, and let's try to launch the application using the application load balancer URL. I'll go to the details tab, and I am going to copy the DNS name of the application load balancer. I'll open a new tab, and I'll paste the application load balancer DNS, and I'll try to access the web application. Here you go. I can access the web application from the application load balancer. Now all my application loads are hitting to the application load balancer. Application load balancer is passing those application load to the auto scaling group, and auto scaling group is currently distributing to the backend targets. For me, I have only one EC2 instance. This is my desired capacity. That is why if I'll refresh, I'll always get from one IP since I have only one EC2 instance. Now let's simulate some fault scenario, and I am going to intentionally stop this EC2 instance such that my backend target will be unhealthy. And now let's see how Auto Scaling Group will automatically launch a new instance. Before that, I am going to modify the default health setting. I'll go to target group. I'll select the target group. I'll go to health check, and I am going to edit that health check because I do not have that much time to wait. For me, I am going to reduce the healthy threshold to 2, timeout from 5 seconds to 2 seconds, interval I am going to put as 10 seconds, and success code I am going to keep 200 as is. I am reducing these parameters such that my target group will be able to detect the unhealthy instance very quickly. And now let's save changes. Okay, I have updated the health check. Now let's go back to EC2 and let's stop that instance. Instance state change to stopping. Let me close this pop-up. Let me refresh couple of times. I'll remove this filter. You can see the instance is stopping now. Let's wait for some time for the instance to be stopped. Here you go. Since this is stopping, it is going to launch a new instance. This is the beauty of Auto Scaling Group. It has detected my backend target as unhealthy, and it is automatically launching a new instance. Currently it is in pending state. Now if I'll try to access the web application using that EC2 public IP, obviously it is going to throw an exception. It is clocking now. It is still clocking. Now let's go to Auto Scaling Group and let's review the activities. Here I have the Auto Scaling Group, and if I'll go to activity, here you can see the connection draining in progress. We have already discussed connection draining, and now it has detected one unhealthy. That is why the connection draining was in progress, and it has launched a new instance successfully, and this is the instance ID. Let's copy it. Let's go to EC2 instance. This is the new EC2 instance which our Auto Scaling Group has launched automatically. The new instance is in running status, but the status check is going on. Let's review the private IP address. It is 172.31.43.224. Here you go. The old instance is emitting error. Now if I'll go to application load balancer, now you can see from the application load balancer, the new EC2 instance IP is already reflected, and the new backend target is now serving the traffic. And you saw that using user data, we have already pre-baked or pre-installed all the required softwares or the HTML pages. Now let's do one more thing. Let's start that new instance. We have set our desired capacity as 1. If I'll start the old instance, then within some time you will see the new instance will be terminated. Auto Scaling Group will automatically balance the instance count, and the moment the backend target will become healthy, it is going to remove any additional or unnecessary EC2 instances. Now let's start this old EC2 instance. From instance state, I am going to start instance. Let me click this banner. I'll refresh. Here you go. It is in running status, although it will take some time to pass the status check. Here you go. You can see one instance is now shutting down. And if you see that IP address, it is shutting our previous instance. It is going to retain the new instance. If we will go to Auto Scaling Group, here are the Auto Scaling Group activity. You can see in progress, it is terminating that EC2 instance, the old instance, because our desired capacity is 1. Now before concluding this video, let's remove all the infrastructure such that you should not get any build, and we'll start with deleting the load balancer first. We'll go to load balancer. We are going to select the load balancer from action. We are going to delete load balancer. I'll confirm. I'll close this pop-up. We do not have any more load balancer. We'll go to target group. We'll delete the target group as well. I'll close this pop-up. Our target group is also successfully deleted. Now I'll delete the auto scaling group. I am going to select the auto scaling group. From action, I am going to delete. I'll confirm deletion. Auto scaling group is deleting. It will take some time for the auto scaling group to be deleted successfully. Now it should delete the backend EC2 instances also. Now let's go back to EC2 dashboard. We have 0 EC2 instance running. If I'll remove the filter, you can see both the EC2 instances are terminated now. And this is terminated because we are deleting that auto scaling group, and auto scaling group will also delete the backend targets. Now let's go to auto scaling group and let's go to launch template. We are going to delete the launch template as well. I'll select the launch template and I'll go to action, delete template. I'll confirm deletion and I'll delete. We have deleted all the infrastructures created as part of this lab, and now you are good to go. That wraps up this module. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more AWS exam preparation courses and cloud certification bootcamps. Got questions or feedback? Drop them in the comment. We love to hear from you. Thanks for learning with us at Cloud Expert Solutions. You are now one step closer to crushing your exam. See you in the next module.